Hey everybody, welcome to Sex the Podcast. Erica Miley here. I just want to kind of give you a little bit of an overview of what's to come in this episode. This episode, I am going to talk all about the butt stuff. Butt stuff, yes, butt stuff, yay. So this is going to be like a mini course about the very introduction to playing with the butt. So I hope you all stick around till the very end. We'll chat a little bit about the how-tos and the do-not-dos. And I hope all of this information is helpful to all of you. Stay tuned. Here we go.
Time for sex, the podcast. 'Cause sexuality is tough. And okay, sex just isn't good enough, no. Time for sex.
Hey everybody, welcome to the butt stuff episode. My name's Erica Miley, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what does it mean to start the process of trying anal sex or trying anal play for the first time. Oftentimes, what happens with my clients, what happens with friends is that I hear two things. I hear either they're never going to try it and they tell me all the horror stories at the first time they ever tried it. And they're like, nope, never again. This is awful. This is just traumatic. Or I hear that maybe someone did give them some information and then it worked out okay. So my aim for this episode is that at least you know where to begin, especially with the butt. Now, with the butt, you have to do some things in advance in order to be able to have anal sex. Anal sex is not something that you can try and just do, but it typically doesn't work out well for those who try to do that. So I want to start with a little bit of basic anatomy. You don't need a ton of anatomy to understand this, but it is good to understand that our body has sphincter muscles all over, and that the butt is not alone for that. Now, as far as sphincter muscles go in the anus, you have two that you will have to learn to be able to relax and do that with your partner. First, there's the outside sphincter muscles that you can see. That takes some finesse. The butt is not like the vagina, where the vagina is made to be able to adjust, and if you have a good lubricant, it adjusts fairly quickly, hopefully with lots of fun foreplay. But today we're focusing on the butt. But the butt requires more finesse. I'm going to say that again. I'm probably going to say that 100 times. So you have to begin with the outside of the anus, and you do not begin with penetration. That's the first direction I'm going to give you. Do not begin with penetration. You need to spend some time and be very aroused before you engage in penetration with the butt. If you just go for penetration, it's going to hurt. You might cause some bleeding. I told you all the story in the beginning in my introductory episode about where I really got a lot of my inspiration from Sue Johansson. And she used to talk about the butt, and she would say, gently Bentley. So I'm going to give you all that same instruction. Be very gentle with yourselves. And you need to be highly aroused, as I said before, and a little bit of romance would be helpful in this situation, and patience. And even what it might even be helpful is to have a different kind of orgasm before you begin in butt play. So the other part is trying to get to know who your butt is first. It might feel strange. It might feel just like any other new thing with sex. trying something yourself might help you relax, because then there's a lot less pressure. Try gently massaging outer area and the opening of your anus the next time you're masturbating, just to starting to get familiar with that part of your body. And guess what? You might feel really awkward, or you might feel naughty, or you might feel, I don't know. Everybody has a lot of feelings wrapped up around learning new sexual things. And so this, just like all the others, will be very similar. Also, you need a good lubricant. I'm actually going to do an entire show about lubricant here in the near future. But specifically for the butt, you need a good lubricant. There are great companies out there that make wonderful lubrications. I personally, there's a couple lubricant companies that they're not supporters of the show by any means, but hopefully I'd like to interview one of them. So here's the shout out for that. The company that I really like their products is yesyesYes.org. They're actually I believe they're a British company, and their products are they're really good for, they consider what chemicals they put in their lubricants that are body tolerant. Because if you think about it, all of the lubricants that we use, they have chemicals in them, and you're putting them inside your body. So you need to be able to trust that whatever you're putting inside your body is not going to harm you. So yesyesYes.org. I also have been checking out a company called Sustain. I would check them out as well. And I'll put all of these and maybe some other options in the show notes. So stay tuned and check it out on the website, ericamiley.com. Now, all that being said, if you can start getting acquainted with your butt yourself, being able to get comfortable with that, sometimes this process can be messy. So keeping mind that this is your butt and there's poop in there, and everybody poops. This is not a surprise to anyone. So this process might be messy. So making sure that you have proper sheets and blankets, or even if you feel like that's necessary, you could put a towel down so that if there is a mess or anything left behind, that you feel like you can launder it without any problems. So the other thing is, the next to consider is thinking about, if you're going to go for penetration, thinking about making sure that you're not going to Taco Bell first and having all of the bean burritos. That is also something to think about. This is a different process than the other sexual patterns that you might engage in. So being mindful about what foods you're eating right before it might be helpful for this. Now, next, you start with the outside first. So external stimulation first. You have lots of nerve endings down there. You have nerve endings for both male bodies and female bodies. There are lots and lots of nerve endings. One of my favorite sex researchers is Dr. Emily Nagoski, and she talks about that we have all the same parts, just in different organizations. And if that's the case, then we have lots and lots of nerve endings, and we have lots of nerve endings in the butt, especially right outside. That's why you start with that external stimulation first. It helps you get to be more comfortable with it, and it starts to loosen those muscles so that you can relax. You can have your partner start gently massaging the outside of the anus, and have that person, whoever that is, start very slowly. Pause, gain some consent. Hey, does that feel good? How does this feeling for you? Check in, especially when and please be vocal if you start to feel funny. Also, back to the lube. Be sure to have enough lube on hand, because you're going to have to use lubricant more than one time during this process. The anus doesn't have its own lubricant the way that maybe a vagina does. So and the vagina only has a limited amount. So you're going to want to make sure that you're using lots and lots of lubricant. And you can use, there are different kinds, and we'll talk more about lubricant in that future episode. So also, be sure, this is a big deal. I really want, if that partner that you have has a penis, they must use a condom. Must. There's no not using a condom. They must use a condom. The reason that is that you cannot go directly from vaginal sex to anal sex and then back again, because you're taking all of that bacteria and then basically rehoming it into the vagina. And so if that's something that you want to engage in, going from vaginal to anal sex and back again, you have to change the condom every time. Now, that being said, that condoms will actually be helpful because it will be helpful in protecting your partner as well. Just in case there's any scratches or anything like that. You are dealing with bacteria and you want to be safe, right? So the next piece is back to talking a little bit about relaxation. So those muscles are much tighter than muscles that you've probably ever worked on before. So becoming comfortable with learning how to relax. It might hurt a bit. So when you start feeling uncomfortable or feel pain, it's okay to back off and it's okay to stop and go slowly. The key is to stop when you need to. This is the part that often people don't think about very often, that they think the person who is doing the penetrating has the control, when in reality, you, the person who's being penetrated, has to have the control. You have to, especially when you begin, because you have to be able to say, this is okay, this isn't okay, I'm feeling pain or I'm not feeling pain. Some of those horror stories that I mentioned before that people have, often they feel only pain, or honestly, they experience bleeding, they experience that they sometimes will experience some feces, things like that. I really don't want this experience to be that way for you. You might still experience some feces, and you might actually have some pleasure as well. So be okay with being able to gently guide your partner. This is a slow process and takes time. This is definitely the time when you will want to be able to say, this is okay and this isn't okay. So starting to get very comfortable with how do I feel with laying sexual boundaries with my partner. So also, the next part of this is other types of stimulation. So if you're engaging in anal stimulation and then also engaging in some other form of stimulation like clitoral stimulation or vaginal stimulation, that will allow you to experience pleasure and also relax about the butt, which is great here. It's really important to relax while you're trying these things out. And when you can't, that's when you pause, right? So also here's a first don't. And it doesn't mean that you don't ever do this. It just means that it's not necessary. You do not need to wax. You do not need to get an enema. You don't need to do any of those things. Those are unnecessary. Sometimes people think, oh, I have to do some sort of maintenance first before I ever try this. That's not the case. Also, find a physical position that you can be comfortable in, not something that oftentimes with my clients, they'll say things that they've seen in pornography and they think, oh, I have to do it that way. No, not at all. Porn, and you'll hear this from me many, many times. And actually I heard a porn star who was interviewed, and she said, porn is a performance. It is not the sex that I have with my partner. And I just thought that was a really good way that when she was talking about that, I thought it was just a really good way to conceptualize this, that what you see in porn is a performance, and it won't necessarily go that way in real life. And I want you to be able to enjoy this sexual part of your life, and being comfortable is going to be a big piece of it. So, also, a good place to start might be with a toy. You can start with something small. There are toys that are great, and they're a great silicone product that would be safe to be able to use on the outside of the anus. And then there are other toys out there that are like butt plugs, and they're small, and you can use them on the outside of the anus, and they're built so that you could also use them on the inside of the anus, so that if you do not feel comfortable putting a penis in the anus, you can feel comfortable with maybe a small toy. You can start there. This is about being comfortable and getting comfortable with your own body. This isn't necessarily about, how big of a thing should I put in there? Make sense? So, also, the next piece, make sure that you are breathing. Sometimes, and this happens in exercise too, I know that I've had trainers tell me, be sure you're breathing. And sometimes I've thought in my head, well, that's silly. Of course I'm breathing. No, sometimes we actually, when we're concerned or we're scared, we'll actually hold our breath. So be sure to practice relaxing your breath and relaxing so you're relaxing your muscles, you're relaxing your anal muscles, and breathe. Next, be open. And I it's funny that I have to say that. Be okay with having an orgasm. You might have an orgasm from anal play. And it is possible. And you might experience some pleasure from this experience. So be open to it. You never know what might be pleasurable to you and your partner until you try it, and you try it in a way that you can feel comfortable. Also, oftentimes bad experiences will happen because a person might be too excited and may get very, very eager to just penetrate and go at it. That's not how the butt works. It cannot. The person who's being penetrated may not be able to handle that. So having conversations around consent before you engage in this is going to be really, really important, so that you can, for lack of a better way to put it, pump the brakes if that's necessary. Also, thinking about cleanup before you even engage in this. I kind of mentioned the sheets, but also thinking about, it might be helpful to have some of maybe having a towel that you are comfortable, that's clean, that you're comfortable cleaning up with, or also maybe having some of the wipes that are disposable nearby. That also might be helpful to you, so that you can feel like, okay, I've cleaned up, or at least can feel comfortable engaging in it, knowing that you have an exit strategy. It's also, I want to say this, it's okay that if it ends up being that anal sex is not for you. It's okay if you want to stop things and say, no, that this isn't what I want to be doing. This is something that is not for everyone, and it's not for everyone to try. There are many clients I've had in the past who have a lot of trauma around their butt. And so it doesn't have to be for you. That's okay. And if you're curious, it can be. I also want to dispel a little bit of a myth. It's a myth that I have heard many, many times, that, if I have anal sex, then that means I'm still a virgin because I haven't had vaginal sex. Here's the thing, folks. Sex is sex. The end. There is no virginity is one of those social constructs that we have. It is not, and we'll have an entire episode dedicated to that because that's one of my soapboxes. And for those who know me know that and go probably rolling their eyes already. So again, at the end of the day, if this is not for you, that's okay. Also, this is an opportunity for you and your partner to practice communication, letting each other know what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. This is not an easy thing to do, and this is a thing that both of you could get hurt if you're not careful. So, all that being said, I hope these tips have been helpful. At some point, we'll probably go in further further depth. Yeah, pardon the pun. About anal sex, but I just wanted to give you a mini, kind of like this mini course to be able to go, okay, I know where to at least begin. So, thank you for joining me today. I look forward to continuing to go down this journey with all of you. Thanks. Talk to you all soon. Thank you for listening to Sex the Podcast. I'm Erica Miley, and you can find me and all of the things about my practice. My practice is the Center for Mental and Sexual Health. You can find all of that on my website, www.ericamiley.com. You can also get in touch with me through email, erica@ericamiley.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Sex the Podcast. You can find also this podcast on pretty much every place that has Google Play or iTunes. Hopefully we'll get on some of the others here pretty quick. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I am also taking a few more clients if you're in the state of Washington. I'm only taking a few more, and I've got some groups starting up here pretty soon about body dysmorphia. And then I've also got a group that's going to start in March about women and losing their sexual spark. So if that sounds like any of you, please feel free to get in contact with me. I'd love to have you. Again, jump on, listen, rate and review and subscribe. And get in contact with me. I'd love to hear from you, even if you just have feedback. Erica at ericamiley.com. Thanks so much, you all. We'll see you next time.